You're going to have to face it. You're addicted to stocks. Hello, everyone. Troy Thompson, the owner and founder of AOF Financial. And today I asked the question, are you addicted to stocks? And so many people think the only way for preparing for retirement, or even when they are near and in retirement, is having money in stocks. And so I asked the question, are you addicted to stocks? Because what are you chasing? What percent return are you thinking you're going to get? What do you think you're missing by always thinking you have to have your money in stocks, mutual funds, something that is related to the stock market? So I was just looking up, the average return of the stock market, and so it was what I found went back to 1971, and it was showing 7.6% as the analyzed return, and 10.5% when dividends were reinvested. So most people, of course, are not always going to be reinvested, and not always going to have reinvesting dividends, and not always have stocks that will have those dividends. So let's say 9%. Let's kind of split the difference and say 9%. And then let's subtract 1% for fees and so forth. Now, and there are people out there that are going to say, well, there are ways to have no fees or very little fees. But when you look at the average, when you factor in if you have a financial advisor and they charge a fee, or your 401k and the fees that are associated with that, 1% is a very reasonable conservative number to use. So let's say 8% as the average return of the stock market over the last 50 years. So what are you getting chasing that 8% when you could get something that's locked in, high degree of certainty and predictability, that is 5.4%. So an extra 2.5%. So for 2.5% that I'm hoping to get by being involved with the stock market over the long term, then I have these periods where I have to endure the nail biting and the stress of a market downturn. So we've had this year has pretty much been predominantly down, and the last couple of weeks there's been a rally, and maybe the lows are in. When I think of what has happened this year and I compare it to 2008 and the year 2000, the lows would not be in. So in those two bear markets, the market went down more than 50% both times. So the peak of the S&P 500 end of last year was around 4,800. So a 50% decline would mean at some point then in this bear market, the S&P would be approximately 2,400 or less. And it hasn't made it there yet. And of course it may not, but I encourage people to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And so part of preparing for the worst is thinking about, okay, if the market goes down another 30% from here, let's say, can I accept that financially? Will that work out for me financially? Will I have enough money to pay my bills if I'm already in retirement and last me for my entire lifetime? And can I handle that emotionally, not knowing where the bottom is and not knowing how long it's going to take just to get back even? And those two examples that I gave of the 2000 time period and the 2008 time period, it took 7 years to get back even. Of course, while person is enduring that, you don't know how long it's going to take to get back even. And it can be very stressful, and that stress can actually impact a person's health as well as their wealth. So today it is October 29th, 2022, and one benefit of interest rates rising is insurance companies and banks are giving a higher return on things that are safe and more predictable, such as certificates of deposit and annuities. So what are called multi-year guaranteed annuities. And so a person can lock in 5.4% return a year, every year, for 7 years right now in a fixed annuity. And so to me, that just makes total sense to take a portion of a person's portfolio, maybe it's 1/4 to 1/2 of what is liquid for them, and put it in something that's safe and predictable, especially someone who's 55 and older, and particularly for people who are already retired, taking a portion and putting in something where it's set and a high degree of certainty. Nothing, of course, is guaranteed, but I trust life insurance companies more than banks. They have a lot more money, and life insurance companies also have a better track record with managing their money than banks. And they're also not as highly leveraged. That's another reason why I like life insurance companies. And so I can have something with a high degree of certainty and predictability as a piece of my puzzle. And so then I have this piece over here that allows me to sleep at night, knowing I'm going to get 5.4%, let's say, as an example. And then that allows me the opportunity to just ride out the storm with the other portion of my portfolio that might be exposed to stocks and allow it to recover and come back because I have this other piece that's more certain and predictable. Another benefit of the rising interest rates is life insurance companies have raised their cap rates on indexed annuities. So a cap rate is when an annuity is using an indexed strategy, then the money in the account receives an interest credit based on the performance of an index, such as the S&P 500. And so then once a year, based on the change year over year of that index, then the money receives an interest credit. And so nowadays, those cap rates, the upper limit that they will credit, have been raised, and the participation rates have been raised. And that's probably a conversation for a different day in a different video. But the point is, you can get some good returns, potentially in excess of that 5.5%, if you choose to do an index strategy method versus the guaranteed return method, but also still have the ability to sleep at night knowing that the principal is protected, because the money's not actually in the market going up and down. The money just sits in an account, and once a year or possibly once every 2 years, depending on the strategy that is chosen, the money receives an interest credit based on the performance of the index. So if any of this is speaking to you, making sense to you, or at least maybe intriguing your interest, feel free to give me a contact. My booking link is in the description below. And let's have a conversation, review your situation, see what a potentially fixed interest annuity can do for you, or an indexed annuity. And there are other things that I can offer that I'm not allowed to just openly talking about over here in a YouTube video. After we have an established relationship, then there are other things that can be implemented, other strategies that can be implemented that can get a good return, but not be tied to the stock market. So I'm Troy with AOF Financial.